Lovely. And look, and I have the opportunity here to, on behalf of SFC Films, to present an award to Dan and to Sam. Hey, thanks, Dan, for that. That was a great story.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful one too, and more importantly, local as well, which we all like to see as well.
Yeah.
So just tell us a little bit about the film and sort of what inspired you to tell that story.
I think Sam was the inspiration, really. So I was, for 3 years, the tutor for Bus Stop Films, and Sam was in my class. And so every week, Sam would be in my class, kind of bringing something special and exciting in the way that when we have our sort of weekly share, the stories he would tell from his week. And then he would be our class photographer as well, and he always had his camera in his hand, taking photos. And so I think a lot of the idea really came from seeing the way that Sam takes photos and the point of view that I saw in those photos as well. Just the way that he takes a particular angle or takes just the certain framing within his photos. I think that's something that just sort of, when writing this idea down, came together. And obviously, for those who are familiar with Canberra's Lights, Camera, Action, you know, they give you in that filmmaking competition a sort of a set sort of like frame of like theme in regards, and this year it was Pride. So, you know, how you interpreted Pride, how that was able to connect to a story that you wanted to tell. And so I saw Sam having a lot of pride in his photography. And so it was kind of trying to connect things together. And so in truth, the ending was there first. I wanted Sam to make a collage of photos and that would make up a rainbow. And it was sort of working backwards to work out how does it get there? What's the journey that he would go through to actually make this collage? Because ultimately, I just wanted to make a story about him making this collage, but I wanted to make sure that there was more of Sam's character within the story as well.
Yeah, well,
that was really important.
I think that you certainly got that across, and Sam, that was great too. Well done. So, look, was there an intention to have some sort of impact with that film to the community, and if so, what do you think those sort of stories provide to the community?
Yeah, well, I mean, having been a tutor at Bus Stop Films, the story that we believe is that everyone has a right to filmmaking. Filmmaking is for everyone. People who know me hear me say that a lot. Filmmaking is for everyone, and so it was important that I felt like Sam could basically be himself through the film. It was just about capturing him going through, this is the things we wanted to sort of capture, these are the things we knew what the ending was going to be, let's go through that. So we wanted lots of photos that Sam could take, so we went on a photo mission and we filmed it. And that's pretty much how that story was put together. But it's about I believe that we can be very much more inclusive in the way that we work with all different types of people from all sort of backgrounds and sort of, who they are. Like, we can all work with them.
Everyone's experiences count, right?
It matters, right? And so in this instance here, this was all about we just let Sam take photos, and that's what was important. And if he wanted to go and do something, we would let that, because that was the story and the narrative that was important, more than the fact that I wanted to make a film that, had to, reach certain criteria because it was for Lights, Camera, Action, I really just believed, and I do believe, that just letting Sam be Sam was super important. And I hope that is part of how we can all be around everybody, is just let us be who we are.
Yeah, so it's an inspiration towards that, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Masood, do we have any online questions you'd like to share out there?
We don't have an online question, but we do have one from the audience here.
Right.
So, Paul, did you want to come up? Just watch out for the cables, guys.
Hi. So my name's Paul, and I've had the privilege of knowing Dan for more than 10 years, and I've seen him develop as a filmmaker. And one thing he's always taught me is that a simple story can be a very strong story. And I think the proof is in the pudding on that screen there. I guess my question is about just looking at the film through the camera's eye. And I know you shot it as kind of as naturally as possible, and it was kind of all these spots that Sam kind of knew and loved and wanted to take photos of. But in terms of actually, this is a bit of a kind of a technical, how do you build a story in a film? There are a lot of shots where, like, you're in the car, there are a lot of shots crossing the street. So all of those kind of set-up shots and stuff like that. How was that, mapping that out and planning that out and storyboarding and that, did you find that also an opportunity for being inclusive and kind of consulting with Sam and working out what photos he wanted to get done? And then I guess when you also did the edit, the same thing would have been, which ones did you want to put in and stuff like that?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a great question. And I think what it's important to acknowledge that, I wanted to tell this story, but I knew I couldn't do it on my own. And so the cinematographer, Doug, was super important in actually choosing how it would be shot and how it would be captured. He was the one that was important to the visual look, as you would expect from a cinematographer, but also Sam's mum Liz was integral into because, as I said, filmmaking isn't a solo activity; it's always a group. And as you saw at the end, we felt it important to do this little behind-the-scenes thing because we wanted to include that in the end credits, where you see the team together as part of it, because it was all of us really putting it together. So from a technical point of view, we knew what we needed from different sequences. We knew that we had to fulfill requirements for the criteria of lights, camera, action, and that was super important. But it was a mix of discussion and collaboration and what was, what time was available and, what was actually comfortable. And we knew we had to, make some moments happen so that it fitted for the story. One of the big IMDb trivia things you would put onto IMDb if it ever gets to that point was, there are some real rainbows within the film, but there's also some fake ones because rainbows don't just act
when you want them.
When you want them. And so, but it was crazy serendipitous because on the day we were going to capture plate shots for the rainbows, because we knew we had to get plate shots because we weren't going to get a rainbow. There was a rainbow, and it just happened to be. And it was this thing of I was getting coffee for everyone on the way in, and I'm on the phone. I'm going, oh my God, there's an actual rainbow. Get cameras out, get the drone out, get all the things out. And so in the and I'm not going to reveal which shots are because I think that would ruin the fun of it. But there is at least one real rainbow and one slightly the same rainbow manipulated. And then we've had to do some visual effects to bring it all together from a technical point of view. But it's just knowing our vision. What we wanted to show is we wanted to see that there was a rainbow in the sky, and that encouraged and was a symbol of like sort of inspiration, and that's how we wanted the story to flow from there. So yes, we planned some plate shots. We had the drone ready to go.
And you got lucky.
But there was a rainbow. So it was just like, how? Like, that's impossible. Like, there is some higher power, listening, going, oh, you need a rainbow? Well, here you go. It was good sort of project management from something else out there. But yeah. So there is some fake ones. Someone did ask me, like, are they real? And I could have lied and said, yeah, they're all real. But no, my brother, he's a bit of a visual effects artist. He did do some work on it, so it would be horrible to not include and reference the fact that he took the real rainbow we shot, and helped fit it into the vision that we had.
So basically the stars aligned for you, right?
Yeah, they did.
Look, Paul's question's a good segue into this next one. Look, as a filmmaker, what are the top 5 lessons you've learned about the film industry that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I mean, I don't do tops very well, like your top 5, top 10, because it's just like there's a top 1 million, you know. There's always information and stuff out there that really matters. So it's hard to rank them top, best, whatever.
I won't make it 5.
But
your best thoughts.
Yeah, I think I've got 5. I was thinking about this, so I made a couple of notes just so I, know, because this is a common thing I think from a lot of emerging filmmakers. They want to know how can they succeed as well, and how can they get the next leg up. So first one, repetition. Do filmmaking all the time and do it again and again and again. Don't stop making films, because you'll only get better the more you do something. I mean, that's just an obvious sort of thing. But, like, don't go out and make your own masterpiece, because the film that you're making won't be a masterpiece by your own choice. It will be a masterpiece based on what other people say. So it's no point going, this is my masterpiece, and then putting all your efforts in and then people going, yeah, great, that's it. Let them decide that. And so it's about letting go a bit of that. It's just make as many films as you can where possible. Collaboration is important. But no one is perfect, so you're never going to have always the right people always around you, but having the right people around you is super important. Without them giving you, I guess, energy that you've lost, or you giving them energy that they've lost in trying to achieve the mission of film, finishing a film, I think that's really important. It's like always building a community around the work that you do. I think that's really important. Another thing that I think is really important is it's so often you as a filmmaker, as a storyteller, can misunderstand your audience and misunderstand what they want to see. And I know it's a really hard thing to work out. I don't know if even though I've quite worked it out just yet, but something I have realized is that people don't actually care. It's, again, something in my classroom that I've said many times, and it shocks the students, because when they first hear it, go, oh, what, no one cares? I'm like, yeah, truth is, no one cares what you do. But it's up to you to then tell stories, make films, put something out there that make people want to care, right? It's up to you to give them the reason. They're not just going to automatically go, yeah, you're cool, let's always enjoy your work. It's always about you putting that work in and giving something out of that, because it's about the stories that you tell need to have human connection. And obviously your audience are out there and they want to have connection, but they're not going to just automatically do it. Just, you've got to work hard for it. That's 3. The 4th one is there's always a bigger fish. And this is a big one for me too, because I've had the lucky opportunity across my career. I've got to travel to the Cannes Film Festival and engage and connect with big Hollywood producers and completely flop from it, because I'm nobody really compared to who they might talk to all the time. And so it's like really having a level of humility as well in what you do, and really accepting that there will always someone be out there who does what you do better. And it's been tough, because I want to be the best, but I can only be the best I can be. So I think that's super important, and something I'm always working on as well. I'm always trying to find the best I can be in the work that I do. And it's tough. That's a really tough one. And the last one is, and I think today is a great example with the films we've just watched, the amount of films from different countries that I haven't watched films from other countries this week or last week. I think that is special, and I think you just need to keep watching films. As a filmmaker, you've got to watch as many films as possible, even the bad ones, and just understand why it's bad. And to have the diversity of films that we had this afternoon, I think says a lot. It's really it's great to have these sort of film festivals that are giving opportunity for people and filmmakers to come and just watch things they normally wouldn't watch. And so another thing is, I've had students say to me, I've never watched a black and white film, or I've never watched a film older than 2004, right? And I find that crazy to me, because you need to engage in the techniques and the approaches that essentially established the film industry. So, you
Well
know,
before special effects were out. Right?
well, I mean, you know, they had different approaches to it, you know. Special effects have been there since the beginning of cinema. The first films were special effect films. And so it's so important that if you want to really understand film is to watch all the films that are possible that you have time to. It's tough when you're busy and you've got lots going on, but making some time to just watch some, you know, something different, something new, just so you can understand why they've told it in that way or the way that they've shot it in that way as well. So I think, yeah, that's the 5 I wrote
I think
down.
you've done well.
Yeah.
Five was great. Look, you mentioned there that your collaboration with good people is important.
Yeah.
Sort of thinking about the way Sam sees it.
Yeah.
The crew you've worked with, you've probably worked with many times before. What was the impact on them in that story?
For them, it was opportunity to do something, because there was contention whether it's a documentary or if it's a short film, because in the way that we had designed the way we were going to shoot it, it could almost feel like a short film in that it tells a story in a way that a short film does. It has a first act, it has, you know, an inciting incident. There's a thing that starts the adventure that leads into the you know, the next part of the story, which, you know, is the threshold of the adventure, you know, and it leads up to a point and a sort of thoughtful moment, which is almost the you know, from a narrative point of view, it's the lowest point in the story of thinking, okay, well, I've taken all these photos, what next? Of course, you know, Sam's straight onto it, and he's got the idea already that he's going to put them all up on the wall and make a rainbow. And, you know, and you can see that in that third act, it brings it all together. It plays out like a short film. And so there was sort of a little doubt at first on that vision as a director. They were listening to me tell how I wanted to approach it, and they were just a little unsure. And I think once we went through it, and because they did trust and they would let me take the lead and show them what I was thinking, and as we captured it and put it together, they were like, I think they felt that was a really great experience to actually have something that felt different and it to actually feel like it worked. And it was such a smooth shoot too. It was so easy. We had time to go out for a beer afterwards, which, you know, usually you want to wait a couple of days to some sort of wrap thing. But, you know, it was just, it was very smooth going, and we knew what we wanted. We're very direct. We had set amount of time, and I don't think we ever, you know, wasted 1 second. And so for them, I do know they felt quite, you know, they enjoyed that process a lot.
Great.
Just something fun and simple, and it meant a lot and had a lot of meaning to it as well. So.
Right, and something unexpected for them too, I don't yeah. Masood, any online questions at this point?
I guess they're shy. But is there any questions from here, from the audience? Yeah? You're shy too. Oh, no, there's one. Come on. Come over to Mike. Yep.
My name is Scott. How many photos did you take, Sam, at the end of your film, do you reckon?
Question for Sam.
Yeah. Hundreds.
Hundreds, yeah.
100.
Yeah.
Wow.
And second question, are you planning to do another film?
Yeah, of course.
Of course. Yeah.
It's that's one of Sam's favourite phrases, of course.
Okay. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah. Great.
All right, look, completely in another direction now, and I'm sure this is one of Masood's questions.
And I've got notes for that too.
As a Star Trek fan, what are the top 3 episodes you like and why?
Yeah, it was a great question. I knew Masood would probably slip that one in because he knows I do love Star Trek. Again, it's very tough to rank. It's like saying which is your favourite film student, right? It's too hard to do that, or your favourite son. I don't have kids, so it's, you know, it's just it's film students for me. But you know, so what I thought was I wanted to mention a few Star Trek episodes that recently have been a lot more in my mind, rather than saying my favourite. But I do know, you know, Masood's favourite episode, but I think I'm right on this, is Far Beyond the Stars, which is a Deep Space Nine episode where I can't remember the plot of it, but it's got incredible acting from Avery Brooks, who plays Benjamin Sisko, the captain, and it deals in a sort of, I guess, illusion that they've all gone back to a time in the 50s or something like that, where the crew are no longer on the Deep Space Nine station, but they work in a newspaper, and it deals with racism. It deals with the American 50s, obviously the time when the
Segregation and
that sort of thing, the segregation, but also dealing with what Star Trek usually deals with, but just in a completely different way. I think that it's been something that's come up a lot, because where that also connects with is the fact that we've just had Picard season 3, and Picard season 3 was probably one of the best sequence of Star Trek episodes back to back, probably since Deep Space Nine did their own sort of continuous storyline as well, like season 8, I think, season 7. But like the 2 finale episodes of Picard were just so perfect in the way that they dealt with the characters, the legacy of Star Trek, and what that means to audiences and fans and all that sort of thing, and particularly in the way that how the next generation was so important to the fact of, I guess, from Masood's point of view, being positive sci-fi, and making sure that it stayed in the mainstream in that form as long as it has. Considering we've still got Star Trek at the moment, I think it just really brought together a grand experience for fans, but also people who have not necessarily seen Star Trek before. It acts, even though it's finale, it acts as a great introduction in a way to what the modern Star Trek's all about. Which also then brings me to something that has just been cancelled too, which is Star Trek Prodigy. And I think that is an insane decision to have cancelled it, because there is an episode called Time Amok, where on this spaceship, they've got these basically teenagers have captured this spaceship to escape this slave mine. And so they're escaping, and there's a hologram of Catherine Janeway, who was on the Voyager series. And in this episode, there's a temporal anomaly, which is very common in Star Trek. Most seasons do a story about temporal anomaly, but each of the different characters get split up into different speeds of time, but yet the theme of the story is working together, and they all have to work together to fix the problem, which was that it would stop the ship blowing up, which it just, as a show which is for kids, but also for Star Trek fans, the themes of that we've got to work together, even if we are separated by a temporal anomaly across different speeds. One character experiencing time in seconds and another experiencing time in months, years. Like, for them to all work together to bring a solution together, I think is which I think is what positive sci-fi is about.
Yeah.
It's finding what it means to be together and to succeed together. In the same way, you can look at how inclusivity has to work. It's about us working together and being a team, rather than just the screaming director, or the abusive producer, or the writer who only writes about stuff they don't know anything about. Right? It's actually about collaboration and working all together to make something happen. And I find that episode to be so powerful, and such a shame that they've cancelled the series. Something odd going on in that story, but I guess that's another conversation for another time.
That's commercial choice, right?
Yeah.
So look, that was great. I think you gave us more than 3 episodes in that, but about 3. You tossed in a couple more. Look, there's one more question, but you won't be completely off the hook, because we've got to you for the prize draw as well. So,
okay.
And by the way, if you are still here and your name is called for the prize draw, you can take the prize. But if you're not here, we redraw. So stick around is the message there. All right, and that people online as well. Okay, so you've worked towards a lot of positive films yourself, And you know that Masood's mission in SFC Films is around a positive spacefaring civilization. How do you see that for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, you know, some of the films we watched this afternoon, I think, really sort of capture that answer well too. I think it's cool that we are trying to get to the stars as we are now. I think it's cool that we're trying to get to Mars. We're trying to reestablish something on the moon. I think that's all amazing and cool. And, you know, it's just, at the same time, it's sad that we've got billionaires part of that story, and but maybe that's the only way forward for now. Billionaires that, you know, you want them to be more, you know, this sort of, you know, a great example could actually, to bring it back to Star Trek unintentionally, but, you know, the idea of the Zephyrin Cochrane, who was the guy who invented the warp speed in the canon of the story, you know, like they all vision this character before they meet him to be just this, you know, this saint, this angel of you know, pioneering space travel. And yeah, when they meet him, he's a drunk and alcoholic and doesn't really care, and he wants to make money out of it. It's weirdly reflective of certain billionaires who are putting things into space at the moment, but we live in a capitalist world and someone has to pay for it, and there is somebody there paying for it. And what doesn't get part of the conversation is very much, I think, the theme is there are a lot of people who, you know, they build the ships, they design them, they are building the rockets, they're doing the science behind it, you know, they're running the management of it. There's the media side of it. There's the, you know, there's the administration, the people who, you know, do the counts of, you know, and make sure that all the people are paid. Like these are the people that are not acknowledged in these stories when it comes to, you know, putting a rocket up into space. There is so many talented people that have to be involved to make it happen. And I think if we can keep talking about those sort of stories, and in some of the films as well, as the way we saw it, is the you know, the people who are trying to innovate what it means to work together to achieve great goals. I think that is where I would like things to go. And in a way, I would like to keep connecting that to the way that I make films and the way that I work with filmmakers. I want to work in that same way, acknowledging the fact that, you know, it is a crew, it's a team that's needed, and everyone has a purpose. And without them, things fall apart and things become difficult. And, you know, like that's why I would end up doing 5 different things that I shouldn't need to do as a producer. It will, because I didn't organize someone to be part of that team, to contribute in that way. But truth is, you know, it does cost a lot of money. And so next steps is to be able to make projects that are better resourced and better financed. And, you know, while I have no vision of being any sort of millionaire, billionaire type person, you know, if I was to win the lottery, you know, I would love to be able to bring a lot of people together and just make an industry work here in Canberra.
Yeah.
Make an industry that people have regular hours doing things that they love within the film industry space.
Yeah. And I suppose your other contribution will be encouraging your students to make positive sci-fi films as well, right? So.
Yeah, look, I want them to make sure they tell stories that have meaning and thought and have better, like do things that are better the world around them. And if they're interested in sci-fi, then absolutely. I think it's important that we are always looking to try and not stop people telling stories they want to tell, but that means giving people the opportunity who don't get to tell stories, tell their stories. And I think, you know, we do that more, and I think out of that will come a lot more by far positive, you know, sci-fi positive, inclusive positive, sci-fi inclusive, like all that, all right, will all come together.
And let him know it's okay to have positive stories. Right?
Yeah,
Not
right.
everything has to be a dystopian future. Right?
Right, exactly, yeah.
Thank you once again for being a part of today's film festival, and I encourage you to join SFC Films if you're not already a member. If you'd like to find out more about that, please talk to Masood, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.